Hi guys, can you explain how Nigel Farage gets away with it all? He attended an expensive private school growing up. He worked as a city trader and made a pretty penny. He earned a pretty decent salary as well for many years as an MEP, and he had his own show on LBC. He even banked at the same institution as the royal family. But if you're to listen only to him, he's the most oppressed individual in the United Kingdom. Constantly complaining and even having members of other parties stand up for him in the House of Commons. Well, moaning about things in Britain isn't enough, and he's found an audience in the US to listen to his whinging too. Here he basically crapped on Britain to a bunch of Trump sycophants. This is a guy whose party claims that Keir Starmer is the opposite of a patriot. Have a listen.
And what a time it is to cross the pond. My country. You can't say anything or you might get put in prison. We're getting poorer. Everybody's miserable. We're governed by a left-wing, awful government. Suddenly, post-November the 5th, America is optimistic. It's upbeat. It's the beginning of the golden age in America. And it is all because of one totally extraordinary individual. You know, I can tell you that if you take on the establishment, they do not come out with a tray of drinks. The whole of the British establishment wanted us to be members of the globalist European Union. All the parties, all the big businesses, all the trade unions. And it was almost me alone saying, this is a crazy idea. We want control of our sovereignty, our borders, and our identity back with the British people. And for daring to say that, they made my life hell.
Oh my goodness. They made your life hell. Who made your life hell, Nigel? And how was your life made hell? You know, this is a guy, once again, who had his own show on GB News, where he was able to use that show to convince the public that Brexit would resolve all of their problems. This is a guy who was constantly on Newsnight, unchallenged on many occasions. This is a guy who was invited onto Sky News, onto ITV, onto the BBC, pandered to. He would say jump and the Conservatives would say how high. He was the tail wagging the Tory government's dog. What a pathetic individual. My life was made hell. You made people's lives hell. You told people that their lives would improve if they voted to leave the European Union. Businesses have closed. Businesses have laid off people because it's more difficult now to export into the single market. Businesses are closing because it's a struggle to import goods from the single market. But he told them everything will be better. He told farmers, he told fishermen that everything will be better. And now they're struggling. But his life is hell. The guy who has his own show on GB News, making more money as a commentator than as an MP. But his life is hell. The worst thing about this is that people will believe it. And it's not just Americans who don't understand who this guy is or don't understand what he's gone through, but also people in Britain. The farmers who welcomed him like a conquering hero to their protest a few days ago and a few weeks ago as well. Not just on one occasion, on a number of occasions. Nigel Farage has been welcomed to protest. The same farmers who were convinced by this guy to vote against their own interests welcomed him like a conquering hero. But remember, he's the one who's struggling. He's the one who has everyone against him. Constantly invited on TV. Able to spew his rubbish, unchallenged. Remember the banking scandal. I described it as a con, and I was proved right. He even had members of the Conservative Party stand up in the House of Commons and demand that he have access to exclusive banking rights. The media seem determined to see him into the house in number 10. They want to see him Prime Minister. Maybe it's good for their ratings. Maybe it's good for their advertising revenue. But it has to stop. You have this guy in the United States, spreading misinformation about the UK. Like he says here, you can't say a word. He's been constantly talking and he's never faced any pushback. Never mind being put in prison. He's never faced any real pushback from the media or from politicians. The Labour government are afraid to talk about him. The Conservatives are trying to pander to him. It's pathetic. And unfortunately, I don't see any real change in the media. I don't see any real pushback against him. They want to open the door, to roll out the red carpet and see him in number 10. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.